movies from various genres and decades. Stay tuned for this episode.
Well, welcome back to another episode. This time we're going to talk about favorite cult films of the 21st century. And these are basically the past 25 years.
Crazy that's 25 years, isn't it?
I know. It doesn't seem possible that 25 years ago it was the year 2000. But time flies. All right. I'll let Gary go first.
Okay, well, first off, let me just say, next episode will be the first episode of our third year doing this. And I think we need to come up with a better term for favorite, because at this point, we've all done, 125 movies or something like that. And it seems likely we've run out of actual favorites. We maybe should come up with a different word.
Yeah.
We'll come up with something between now and then. But I'm going to start off with a movie from 2022 called X. This is, I'm support indie film. I always support indie film. This is the least indie of anything I've got on my list for this time. But it's the first movie of a trilogy starring Mia Goth. She's the one who's in all three of them. And in fact, in X, she plays two parts. She plays the old woman at the house, and she plays one of the people who comes there. And you've also got Jenna Ortega, who I really like in pretty much anything. She's in there as well. And what you've got, it takes place in the 1970s, and they do a really good job of making it look retro. And you've got a bunch of people who rent out this home to go shoot a porn movie. And there's this old couple who lives on the property, and it doesn't quite turn out as they intended. And I am not going to go any further because there are a number of twists. It's actually a pretty interesting plot. Surprisingly, there's not as much nudity as you would think, given the content of the movie. But it's a really, really good film. I really enjoyed it. It is a slasher film first and foremost, but when it starts off, there's like a sort of basically the ending scene starts the movie, and then they sort of go back in time.
Right.
And when the ending scene starts, it reminds me a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the setting and everything. Yeah, it looks a lot like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And throughout the movie, there are a lot of things that sort of give you that kind of vibe. But thematically, it's a completely different movie. But
oh yeah, I like all three. They're all completely different.
I have not seen the other two, but I really want to.
Yeah, they're all completely different. But like I say, the same actress is in all three of them. And if they ever gave Oscars to horror movie actors or actresses, I think that she should have got it.
Yeah,
for all three of them. The other ones, I think there was one where it's taking place in the 20s.
Yeah, the prequel, which is Pearl.
Yeah, Pearl.
And then Maxine is a sequel.
Yeah, so it's good. I have those on my list because I wish that they would put them as a set. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be nice. I've got just the first one as a DVD, but I don't have the other two.
I actually saw Pearl, but I have not seen. I've been meaning to see the other two because I thought it was very good.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me throwing out a plug right here, my former mentor, Tim Wagner, has written the novelizations of all three of those movies, all three movies in that trilogy.
I know Tim. He's done quite a few good books.
He does. Yeah, he does a lot of novelizations these days. He seems to be more popular for.
Very cool.
Am I up?
You're up.
Or Asia. No, I'm just All right, so my first of all, sneak preview of what's coming up here. All right, Godzilla Tokyo. Anyway, that'll be later.
Oh, go Godzilla.
That's what I said.
There goes Tokyo.
before we get to Godzilla, we're still going to go to Japan. Sort of, in a roundabout way. My first movie is The Ring from 2002. Maybe marginally a cult movie, but you know, if you go with that argument that pretty much all horror movies are cult movies because it's hard to be one of the best horror movies I've seen in a long time. Of the 2000s, it might be the best that I've seen. And well, I'm classic cam, so I don't see a lot from the 2000s, but this is the best that I've seen anyway. It's that movie where they watch a videotape and they're gonna die, and they get a phone call right after, and they're gonna die in 7 days. Right? They keep getting a phone call. You have 6 days, and you never know how it's gonna work out. I was just captivated by it. You don't know what's going to happen next. You have no idea where this thing is going at any point in the movie at all. And I don't want to give too much of a spoiler of the ending, but I do want to say the ending reminded me of Lord of the Rings. I'm assuming you guys have seen both. It's one of those endings where every time you think it's the ending, it's not the ending.
Right.
The ending just drags on for about 5, 10, 15 minutes. It was like 5 endings at the ending. And every time you think it's over, something else happens, and then something else happens. So Naomi Watts plays the main character. I did have to look that up. And I also had to look up the writer because this movie came from a Japanese movie called Ringu, which is ring in Japanese, which was also the name of a novel written by Koji Suzuki. I had to cheat to get that. But I love this movie so much. I am going to try and track down the Japanese version. I have not done it yet. Last I checked, it was still available on Tubi. I might check it out there. And I might even check out the novel because it just blew me away as to how it's just so weird. What is it about Japanese culture that is just so weird in their movies? I have no idea. And this was another one of those things that kind of was a test for me. You know, I like Japanese movies, obviously, right?
Right.
And I had no idea there was a Japanese connection to this thing when I saw it going in. It was only after I watched it that I read up on it a bit, and I was like, oh, wow, this is from a Japanese movie. And I read up on it a little more. Oh, wow, this is from a Japanese novel, which does have an English translation, of course, which is available everywhere. I think the novel came out as early as 92-ish, maybe somewhere in there, early to mid-90s. But anyway, and of course, it is part of a trilogy, and okay, no, I confess I have not seen the other two. Those are also on my list. Maybe this Halloween is the time when I usually watch some newer horror movies. So maybe this Halloween might be the year that I watch the other two.
There you go.
Yeah, I've only ever seen the first one as well.
Yeah, I've heard the other two are still pretty good. I mean, sequels are almost never as good as the original. Very rarely, you know. I mean, I can think of maybe 2 offhand, but other than that, maybe 3 offhand. But most people would probably disagree with me on at least one of those. But
I come up with 2 offhand.
What's that?
I come up with 2 offhand.
2 offhand.
I like how you had that Ring and Lord of the Rings kind of.
Right, yeah, I know. And it's kind of a Lord of the Rings ending, like I said, the third Lord of the Rings ending, where it's never just, if you think it's the ending, don't get up for popcorn, okay? Don't get up and use the bathroom. Wait until the ending credits are done, because it's not over when you think it's over. It's just going to keep having another ending and another ending. But it's freaky. Right. It's I thought the monster in there was believably scary, and you know, death is always scary, and a lot of the characters do die, you know, after their time is up. So definitely worth a watch if you have not seen it yet. Strongly recommended anyway.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm gonna go back to 2001 with a semi-musical. It's called Hedwig and the Angry Inch. And this is basically, it's a story of a little boy that grows up in East Germany, and he's very gender fluid. I mean, because they showed a picture of him sunbathing in the nude, and from the backside, it looked like a woman. So this American serviceman saw that, and he was like, you know, it was just kind of really over the top kind of acting. And basically, they wanted to get married, but he had to do it back home in the United States. And at the time, in order to you couldn't marry someone of the same sex, so went to go get the bottom surgery. They botched it, and that's where the name the Angry Inch comes from. Fast forward, they goes up and has a rock band, and he just goes to different like little small like restaurants or clubs, or sometimes like places that you wouldn't expect a rock act to play. And then there was this younger kid that was idolizing him, and for some reason had a better image, and he became the superstar. But the music really it's great. I mean, it's anywhere from like kind of folksy music to hard rock to a little bit of punk in it, and with kind of reminds me a little bit like glam rock of the early 70s. The stage play of it years later, Hedwig was played by Neil Patrick Harris. And so it's a good one. I mean, if you don't mind, I mean, this was probably could have been a good one to have done last month for Pride, because it's basically it is a queer movie. It has a lot of nods in that area, but if you put aside those things and just watch for the story and the music, campy as hell. I mean, it's one of the campier, newer movies I've seen. And yeah, there you go. Yeah, and if you don't mind music, if you don't mind music in your thing, it's not technically like a musical because they're not singing their parts, but there are musical interludes in it, along
Sort of
with
like Spinal Tap, or
kind of like Spinal Tap, but just yeah, kind of a little bit like Spinal Tap, where it's like the band should have been big because they got great songs, but just a lot of inner turmoil, and it's not bad. I mean, if you like that kind of thing, I mean, I recommend this to people that like stuff like Rocky Horror Picture Show and Phantom of the Paradise. This is one to kind of for like a newer generation.
Heard of it? I have not seen it.
And that's my first one. Criterion has that.
Heard good things about it. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I mean, I definitely going to pick up the Criterion version of it because I've been wanting. Criterion does a great job on their stuff, anyways.
okay, well,
That's my
brings us back
That's
around
my
to me.
first. Yeah, that's you.
And I'm going to go to 2023, and let me just say this movie comes from a guy who's a friend of mine, and I've done some remotes for some of his other movies, not this movie. Now, since I don't really think of these as reviews, even if I was in this movie, I think I would be okay with talking about it because it's not really a review. So I think, I don't need a little bias is okay, I think. But this movie is called Bloody Nun, Last Rites. And it centers around this church, this Catholic church that's supposed to be haunted. And part of the haunting is involved with this priest who has a collection of haunted items like dolls and stuff, sort of a conjuring kind of thing. But there's like a contest between paranormal investigators, and it's kind of poking fun at paranormal investigating TV shows because none of them are really interested in doing any real investigation. They're just trying to get the best footage and trying to screw each other over. And, they're really charlatans. And now this is a very, very low budget indie movie. Will has actually, I saw a thing where he was called the Ed Wood of modern indie horror. And so there is sort of that with Will's movies, you sort of get that. Um, don't come in here expecting Academy Award winning material because you're not going to get it. But if you know what you're coming in for, this is actually a really fun movie. There are some good kills. There's some really bizarre things. There's a guy I want to mention too, a guy named David Perry, and he is this big dude, and he is so funny. I love him in every movie he's in. He's just a really good actor and just comes across very funny. And he's in this. He has some good stuff in here. And that's pretty much all I want to say about it without giving too much away. It's a little over the top at times, and some of the effects are a little silly at points, but it's really just a fun, probably below B level movie. It's just if you appreciate those kind of movies, and I do, I think you do too, Bill. Actually, I think you probably do too, Ron.
Yeah.
You'll probably enjoy this movie. It's a good time. So it's Bloody Nun Last Rites.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that you kind of had me at them trying to screw each other over in a comical way.
Oh yeah.
That's good premise to begin with, anyway.
Oh yeah.
All right, so my second movie is I have to say we maybe we overused the word favorite, but this is my favorite. Well, okay, this is going to narrow it down way. My favorite Bill Murray movie from the 2000s. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe we're scraping the
Way
bottom
to
of the
drill
barrel
down there.
Yeah, they were scraping the bottom of the barrel using that favorite, but it is my favorite Bill Murray movie of the 2000s, and it is very good. And I actually have the DVD handy this time, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. And this is the movie that Bill Murray made just after he won the Academy Award in a Best Performance for Lost in Translation. And I saw that movie after I saw this movie, and I think his performance in Life Aquatic is better, actually. Lost in Translation isn't a bad movie. Maybe I'll talk about it one day. Maybe I won't. It's a little on the dull side, kind of an artsy movie. This was kind of an artsy movie too. It is an independent film. I believe it was filmed in Portugal, and it makes fun of those nature shows from the 70s and 80s, very much along the lines of Jacques Cousteau TV shows and things in PBS. It has an outstanding cast. I think it was because Murray won the Academy Award. I believe this is the movie immediately after, or at least shortly after. Owen Wilson, Kate Blanchett, another Academy Award winner, Angelica Houston, Willem Dafoe, Jeff Goldblum. I mean, you can't beat this cast for an indie movie. And it has a very tongue-in-cheek humor. It is a very acquired taste humor, but one that I very much have acquired. There became kind of a backlash against it after a while. I'm not sure exactly why. It started to win some awards, and it seemed like it was going to be at least nominated for something at the Academy, but it was not. Anyway, the plot is that Steve Zissou is kind of like your Jacques Cousteau. He's on a mission with his best friend, and his best friend is eaten by what was it? It was a shark that doesn't exist, like a panther shark or something. Anyway, so he's eaten, and he wants money from backers to go out for revenge against this shark that ate his friend. And it kind of takes on a little bit of a Moby Dick kind of feel to it at that point, as he gets his wife is kind of the brains around the outfit. He's just the guy on TV. That's Angelica Houston. Jeff Goldblum is basically a rival of his who gets all the big government grants to do these things. So he's got like this huge ship, while Bill Murray has this ship that's falling apart. He plays Steve.
So we got a twister thing there.
Yeah. So everything he has is falling apart. Owen Wilson is his long lost son from a former marriage that wants to reconnect with him. Kate Blanchett is a cub reporter who is trying to do a story on him, which he wants to be a puff piece, but she's trying to actually be a real journalist, and so they clash heads. And she winds up falling in love with his possibly son. They never say for sure if Owen Wilson's character really was his son. They don't really know, but they kind of think he was. And Willem Dafoe is one of his other, like his new best friend after the other guy got eaten, and he's kind of jealous of the Owen Wilson character because he's supposed to be, hey, I'm next in line, right? Your other guy got eaten. Now you're bringing this guy in, and you're buddying up with him. And meanwhile, Bill Murray's pretty much just using all these people to rate footage so that he can do another documentary that will sell. So he's trying to piece this all together in stories. So he's really kind of a scalawag in the whole thing, but he kind of starts to change throughout the movie. He starts to become a nicer guy towards the end, so you get that kind of feel to it.
Right.
And some of the jokes, you see them all in that submarine. They're very subtle. Everything's very subtle with the humor. Quickly, when they just go across the dashboard, you see this sign that says no more than 8 people are supposed to be in that submarine. And you can see, probably count about a dozen at least. There's like 20 people in there. But throughout the whole thing, Bill Murray really doesn't care much about the rules or the law or anything. He's trying to do this on the hush all the time, around going around governments and, to do his documentaries and try to make money.
Kind of a typical Bill Murray character in that way.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much a cad. Kind of a lovable cad, I think, in some ways, I think maybe he's kind of a modern day Costello, modern day Lou Costello. He's kind of a dope, but you kind of like the guy for some reason. A little bit of a cad, but you kind of like him. He's got a light to him in there. And he does his typical stuff. He's getting older, and that's part of the character as well, is that, he's getting too old to do these documentaries. And towards the end, he starts thinking, maybe this is my last one. I don't know. Oh, yeah, that was part of the change, too. Towards the end, he actually falls down the stairs, and he says, you know what? Leave that in. I want everybody to see me how I really am from now on. So leave that in the footage. Don't edit that when you go to make the documentary. So, but I think, my opinion, Bill Murray won an Academy Award for Lost in Translation. This is way, way better than Lost in Translation. Definitely worth seeking out. Again, it is an indie film. Oh, one of the other, that subtle humor I was talking about. Oh, and this kind of depicts the movie a little better. That little cartoon drawing of the inner, when you take off the sheet, looks like it was drawn by about an 8-year-old. Where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought. Oh, one of the other jokes, running jokes throughout the thing is his scriptwriter is always topless, which was a reference to the real Jacques Cousteau, whose wife was always topless on the ship, and and there's a guy sitting there who's throughout the whole movie sings David Bowie's songs in Portuguese, which you have to kind of look at. Just stupid little silly stuff like that through the whole thing. And, plus then you have Bill Murray doing his little one-liners, they run through a swamp and he's like, wait, stop, swamp leeches. He's pulling them off himself. Everyone else is like checking themselves, like, what, I'm the only one that got hit? What's the deal? So anyway, worked in a Bill Murray movie. This is 2000s, but you're not getting a better 2000s Bill Murray than this one. I don't care about, that newest Ghostbusters. He was okay, but this is better.
Right.
Better than that.
All right. Sounds good. I've been kind of, I saw that on the video store shelves. Yes, kids, there was a video store at one time. And I just never got around to watching it. But now that you kind of talked about it,
you get a chance.
It's always nice when, if you're not sure about the movie, someone to kind of tell you a little bit about it that's not basically a critic, or I should say a pig. We're critics.
Yeah, I actually did see that one in the theater and bought the DVD, obviously. I tend to watch it fairly frequently.
So, okay. All right. Well, my second film is from 2008, and it kind of follows a little bit like my first one, except that this is a musical. Uh, and it's called Repo, the Genetic Opera. Basically, in the future, there's a company called Genco, and they sell organs. Anything you need, bad heart, bad liver, whatever. But if you don't pay, they send out a repo man to come to take it back. Um, the repo man is played by Anthony Head. If you remember Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the Buffy's trainer, that was him. Uh, and he's got a pretty damn good voice. And I was looking it up. He did a London stage performance of Rocky Horror Picture Show playing Frankenfurter. Um, it has a kind of an all-star cast. It has Paul Sorvino. He's the head of Genco. Paris Hilton. She's the daughter. Then Bill Moseley is the older son, and it's basically the music is in the goth metal vibe. Some songs are better than others, but it's very gory for a musical. I mean, it possibly could be probably the goriest musical that I know of. It kind of really is a horror show, and it's like and it takes place that Anthony Heard's character, his daughter has a rare blood disease, and he has to always go out and with the money that he makes from repo to get his medicine for her. Well, she ventures out and now sees the whole world how it is, and it's just crazy how the what Paul Savino's characters his kids are basically fighting over who's going to run the company after he goes. And Paul Sorvino, he's not only an actor, he's an opera singer, so he has some good songs. Two of the worst singers on there. Actually, there's three really bad singers, but I give them A for effort. Is Paris Hilton, Bill Moseley, and then someone named Alex Vega, who's she was in the Spy Kids series that Robert Rodriguez did. Trying to break away from this horror stuff to do kids shows. And it had a singer named Sarah Brighton in it, and who's kind of like I don't know how to describe it. Kind of classically trained, but she does do contemporary songs.
Sarah Brightman was the female in Phantom of the Opera.
Oh,
At least
okay.
in the stage versions, anyway.
Yeah. So
So yeah, that's classically.
So this is a really good one. I found out about this. I saw it on the video store shelf, and I was like, going, okay, I'm going to take a chance on this. This, for some reason, just from first glance, it looks like it's going to be a sticker. And then I got home, watched it, and I was like, going, this is damn good. So I first bought the DVD, and then more recently, in the past 10 years, I bought the Blu-ray, and it's really good. If you like, acting is really, some of it's atrocious, but it's just a fun little camp, kind of goth camp horror, which should be up your alley. um, so that is my second choice.
You definitely had my attention with Sarah Brightman. The Andrew Lloyd Webber version of Phantom of the Opera, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. I can look that up to make sure I'm right, but I'm 99.9% positive I'm right.
Her character is blind Meg. She, obviously she's blind, and it's really good. I think it really stood up to it. There was supposed to have been a sequel, but that never happened. And the guy that orchestrated the whole thing kind of just fell off the map. I don't know if it just he didn't do maybe it didn't do good in the box office enough for him to say, well, I'll do it again. And I mean that's kind of it's a sad thing that happens, and his character was the grave robber. He was robbing because there was something in the bones of the dead. It was some sort of fluid that it was like a drug, and he could sell that. So, all right, that's my second one.
Right, back around to me. And for this one, I'm turning to 2024 and a movie called Phil Herman's Unearthed. Now, this movie is an anthology film. It has the wraparound stories. There's a guy who digs up this book from a grave and starts reading the stories in it. And there are four main stories. The first one is a detective story, basically. It isn't actually even horror, although there are horror elements, where this detective is trying to solve this disappearance of this girl. And it has a lot of similarities to a case from a bunch of years back where his father-in-law was convicted of murdering his sister-in-law. And so he's drawn into this investigation, and there's a lot of family stuff going on, and the thing has a ton of twists and turns. It's actually a really interesting story with a lot of layers to it. The second story is a UFO abduction where this guy's been missing for several days, and he comes back, and his story is horrifyingly frightening. It's like something out of the X-Files, but almost darker.
Right.
The third story is a Spanish language story. It's an exorcism story, and it's similar to The Exorcist, as you might expect. But it's also got plenty of differences too. The fourth story is another one of the best ones there. And I think the first one's one of the best, and the fourth one is really, really good. You've got these cops who are trying to track down a serial killer. And you see this woman who's sort of getting involved with the situation. And I'm not going to say any more, except to say that it goes in directions you absolutely would never expect it to go in. You will not see it coming. It's a really cool movie for, again, indie movie. Don't expect Academy Award winning performances, although there are some good performances there. It's take it for what it is, but it's actually a really good film. I liked every single story in it. I like some better than others, but every story is good.
In independent films, I think that as long as they kind of give it their all and their best, do their best work, that's all you can really ask for.
Exactly.
How I
Especially
always
since,
feel about Bela Lugosi.
especially,
You know what?
especially,
I would say here's the thing. If you're doing your craft, you should improve with every performance you do. You should get a little better. And so you're catching people early on. And so to expect them to have, incredible performances every time, is not. And I watch so many of these indie movies because I'm sort of part of the indie scene, and so I see a lot of this stuff, and I can see the progression of the actors getting better and better as they do their thing, and that's the way it should be. But you've got to expect that some of these people are pretty new to the game. They haven't really gotten their chops yet, and they're still getting together and getting the professionalism there and learning every film.
All right. Yeah, I mean, because the majority of the independent actors that might not be their first job,
Right.
And so they do. So I kind of give them kudos for that. That hey, you got I mean, for lack of a better term, you got the balls to get up there and put yourself out there.
Right. And like you just said, it's not a lot of their day jobs. And Bill, I know, has talked about how in the early days of film, it was really common for a lot of these actors who were in these pretty decent sized films to still have a day job, that they went and did
Right.
too. And they did
Had
it
to.
for the love of it. And that's one of the things I think that modern indie film really shares with a lot of those older movies, is that these people were doing it for the love of it. And same thing with the indie people. Trust me, if people were doing it for the money, they wouldn't be in it because there's not much money there.
Right.
And who knows if one day one of them makes it big, you can say, "Hey, I saw that guy," and he was, in doing small indie film.
Yeah, and as I do movies, it's like as I take part in movies, I'm like, okay, which one of our crew is going to be the one to make it big, And it's like I can say, yeah, I worked with that person.
That's right. Never know, right?
Yeah.
It might go on to something. All right, my turn.
Yep. Your turn.
Yep.
All right, so for my third movie, I do have another comedy here. 2006, Idiocracy. I don't know if you've seen this one. This one was kind of making fun of the Bush administration, but it might actually be even more appropriate for the Trump administrations. So the story is this guy's a low-ranking military member and just kind of half-asses his way through life, isn't really into anything. And so he gets chosen to be in this cryogenics experiment, and they're going to freeze him, and then they forget about it for 500 years. And when he wakes up, keep in mind, when he was alive before, he was of average intelligence, not particularly dumb, not particularly smart. But when he wakes up, he is the smartest man in the world, and everyone else has become dumber. Way, way dumber. It's created by Mike Judge and what's the other guy's name? Martin Coten, the guys who made Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill, those TV shows. Eaton Cohen, excuse me. That one I have to look up. Mike Judge, I know offhand. Everybody knows, I think. It stars Luke Wilson, who's a familiar face. You've probably seen him in some other things, and Maya Rudolph, who's been on Saturday Night Live for probably somewhere around a decade. She actually plays so Luke Wilson plays the main character who gets frozen. And when they wake up, and I did see an interview about it, they don't even speak full sentences. The rest of the characters, like they can't even, he said when he was writing the dialogue, he was trying to make it a combination of inner city and hillbilly. And actually, they do a pretty good job of it. And the actors do a pretty good job of making it sound natural, believe it or not. And there's a president named President Camacho, who looks very much, he dresses very much like Macho Man Randy Savage, the wrestler, and acts like him anyway. Maybe he doesn't do the voice, but he does kind of dress like him and, does like wrestling poses and stuff all the time. And they're trying to figure out why nothing is growing, crops, people are dying of starvation. Everything's taken over by computers. He gets sick. He has to take all these tubes. One goes in your mouth, one goes in your rear end, one goes in your ear, and then the guy says, he does some of it and he goes, oh wait, this one goes in your mouth, that one goes in your ear.
Oh.
It's like he's just so stupid. They don't even know what they're doing, but the computers kind of know everything. There's a company that has taken over the United States, and you're not even allowed to buy water. You have to buy the sports drink. And they have been trying to water their crops with the sports drink. So everybody's dying of famine because sports drink isn't good at growing food. It's only good for people consumption. So he has to be the one, because he's the smartest guy in the world. They ask him to fix the problem of world starvation. So he's the one who has to tell them, hey, maybe we should be using water here instead of this. But they don't even understand what he's saying when he just speaks in plain English like that. The craziest thing.
Right.
You're
Like,
all
what?
just idiots. It just makes you feel like the world, it makes you feel like you just turned on the 6 o'clock news, really. So anyway, definitely worth checking out. It does have some hilarious moments and definitely a message. You know, when Beavis and Butthead was on, I was always like, are they glorifying stupidity or are they making fun of stupidity? And this movie definitely answers the question. They are definitely making fun of stupidity. They're definitely not really glorifying it. They are saying you shouldn't be Beavis and Butthead. You should be smarter than these idiots. We are making fun of these people for a reason. So, you know, and it has its political stance, obvious, that is very obvious in the movie. I'm not applying that to anything. Like I said, came out in 2006. You can very much tell it was supposed to be about the Bush administration. Probably even more appropriate because Trump has a pro wrestling background. He's in the WWE Hall of Fame. He was in a couple of WrestleManias, hosted a couple of WrestleManias in the earlier days, and was in a few later on. Definitely has that pro wrestling connection and way of delivering his message is very strong in this. But so that's it. Definitely worth checking out if you have not done so yet.
I've seen that. I've seen that several times, and each time it gets funny. I saw it before Trump, and then saw it after Trump, and I'm like going, yeah. It's like, so a friend of mine on Facebook goes, "It's no longer a movie; it's a documentary."
I think that's accurate. I think it's more reality than reality anymore.
Right.
It's really come of age. I finally saw it I've heard of it for a while, but I finally watched it for the first time after Trump was elected and before he took office this last time.
Right.
Me and the family were like, we got to watch a movie that relates to this. And I'm like, I think I got the perfect one. And they kind of agreed with me afterwards.
Yeah. And Luke Wilson, I thought he did a great job. I mean, I don't know, his devil may care attitude just about in every role he does. It's just, whatever. He just has that attitude.
He's definitely doing that throughout this one for sure.
Yeah. That was a good choice. All right. Well, I'm going to go to 2013. I'm going to take a dark turn from that lightheartedness. And this is a found footage, sort of a found footage film called The Sacrament. And it's basically kind of on the lines of Jim Jones and was it Guyana or Jonestown? And what it is these a brother and his two friends that come in over there. They want to do a documentary on this guy, this religious leader, and he has how all these people from all over the world had come to this area and what's his secret, what everything. And it turns out that he has a dark secret, and it turns out that they do, for anybody that knows what happened at Jonestown, it's what happens here. It's very, at the beginning of the film, you feel a little unease, like, how if you walk into a room with strangers, that kind of kind of feel out the room. But towards like the middle, you start feeling very tensed up because, anything can happen. And it is possibly one of the more brutal movies that I've seen, because just the way that um the the Kool-Aid that they give, and you see them pouring in the cyanide into there, and it's like, and telling, and he gaslights them all to think he's gonna they're gonna go to a better place, and oh, if I guess if you want to see something really dark and very on a very serious tone, this is something to check out. I mean, this was that one movie I told you that I found on Amazon for $10, and it's worth it. I mean, if you want something, and the found footage is not like, it's, I wouldn't call it more towards it wasn't more towards Blair Witch, but it's kind of more towards Holocaust, that kind of documentary style. It seemed to be more grittier. It had like a 70s feel to it without really being in the 70s. Um, but there was always, I don't know, just always felt like there was danger. You know, Even at the beginning, you felt like there was some, it's got to be something going on here that's not right. And then, but by about halfway to 2/3 of the way in, it's like it becomes like almost like a run for your life type of situation. Uh, and that's all I gotta say is, uh, the guy that plays the Jim Jones character reminded me of, and I always wanted to look it up if they were trying to get John Goodman, because this guy kind of looks like um, a bargain basement version of John Goodman. I mean, he looked like he even had kind of the similar voice to it. So I'm kind of curious as to whether or not they wanted to approach John Goodman. And this was done by um, someone named Ty West, who's done a lot
Ty
of
West,
stuff.
Ty West does X, right?
I think he does, yeah.
Yeah.
So we got a connection there.
Yeah.
And this is good. I have to recommend that if you want something dark, because so far we haven't really been dark.
I did the ring.
Well,
That's pretty good.
that's pretty dark. But I think this tops that. I mean, the
Which
ring
is
is
another found
creepy.
footage movie, actually.
Yeah, the ring is kind of creepy. But this one's like, oh my
That
god.
sounds interesting, though. That Jim Jones character type stuff. That sounds
Yeah. It
and
took me a while
70s
after,
look and feel, and I do like the found footage kind of thing. I know you have my
yeah,
attention, sure.
yeah. Good one. Back to you, Bill. I
All
mean,
right.
Gary.
Okay. So I'm moving ahead to 2025 for the next two movies. This one has a couple of my friends in it, so I'll get that bias out of the way right out of the gate. In fact, the second time I watched it, one of the guys in the movie was sitting on the couch with me watching it and telling me behind the scenes stuff. So, but it's called A Hard Place. The setup for the movie is sort of a from dusk till dawn kind of thing, in that
Hmm.
these people do a heist and they wind up killing somebody in the process, and they're on the lam and they're waiting for somebody to get them their fake passports so they can take off and get out of the country. But they get caught up in a feud, like a feud between not exactly two families, but these different types of monsters. And it's interesting because they didn't go with any kind of generic monsters. They're not like vampires or werewolves, but they're like one species is like a plant kind of monster. And then one is sort of similar to a werewolf, but they never really tell you what it is. And they're not exactly werewolves either. And so these people get caught up in the middle of that. There's a lot more, uh, you know, mixed motivations and a lot of subterfuge going on. And it makes some points about the ridiculousness of feuds that go on forever and people sort of forget why they're feuding after a point, and but it's a really good movie. It has some very, very creepy stuff. It also has some very good humor, and some of the dialogue is great. I think it's a very well done movie. Like I said, when I was watching it with Andy, he was pointing out a couple things that I hadn't noticed, which so to me they were like, okay, that's kind of absurd. I didn't notice that, but like for instance, he's actually sort of two characters because he's in two places at once. Um, at one point, but if you weren't paying attention, you'd never notice it. But yeah, it's a really fun movie.
I was like, I mean, you got some pretty good fun ones.
Okay. My dog just came back in, so hopefully I can get through this. She's very noisy. Anyway, my fourth movie is at least darker than my last two for sure, but it is a children's movie. But it's a children's movie that I think it definitely has an appeal to adults. It's called Coraline. It's my daughter's favorite movie, so there's a favorite thing in there somewhere. It's about this little girl who moves to another house, and she finds like a secret world where everybody's nice to her, much nicer than in the real world. But in the secret world, they want to trap her and keep her there forever. And she's not really sure she wants to go that far with the secret world. But every time she goes into the secret world, it gets weirder and weirder and weirder. I mean, this is not really that humorous, which is appealing, but it is one of the strangest movies I think I've ever seen. And it's definitely up there. It comes from the mind of Neil Gaiman, who is a horror fantasy and horror writer, and did do some children's books. This is one of his, probably one of his bigger ones anyway. I found it to be, it's definitely watchable on several levels for adults. Just and it kind of has that creepy child appeal to it as well. When she goes into the fake world, her eyes are buttons, like everybody's eyes are buttons. And she has like these two aunts who are always really nice to her. And in one scene, they wind up in a circus, and it just creeps me out every time I see it. Only about halfway into the movie, and they're like in these strange bikinis in a circus doing the circus act. In one of the scenes, these old aunts that she has, I'm just watching it with my daughter the first time. When they get to that scene, I'm like, who is this? It really stands out. I'm just saying, the scenes really stand out. But the whole movie is kind of creepy on that level, and definitely works. And even if it is a kids movie, I think it would have adult appeal. I think adults would definitely watch this and enjoy it, and definitely see the creepiness to it. So I would still recommend it. It's called Coraline once again. 2009. I'm up to it.
That sounds good. I have not watched that. I've heard of it.
I always thought it was a Tim Burton.
You would think it would be, actually. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it has that vibe.
It does look like a Tim Burton movie, for sure. I don't think he was involved in it though. Yeah, it might be creepier than most Tim Burton movies. I think I have it up here now. There's not really any actors or actresses that I really know that well. I don't know, maybe some other people who know this more modern movies better might know, but it's not directed by. It's directed by Henry Selick and written by Henry Selick and Neil Gaiman. So Gaiman, of course, like I said, did the novel.
I kind of like that it could appeal to the kids and to the adults the way you described it.
For sure, it's got that creepy kid appeal, kind of like that Kid in the Shining kind of thing. Really, think of if the kid version of him was the star of a movie of The Shining.
Likes it.
Getting there, maybe not quite that creepy, but it's getting there. Yeah.
Oh, sounds good. All right, for my third one, now I'm going to take another turn, and this is 2014, Cooties. This stars Elijah Wood, and he plays a substitute teacher. And he happens to substitute on possibly the worst day ever. Turns out that there's a chicken plant that the chicken is tainted. The chicken nuggets are tainted. And they serve these chicken nuggets at the school. And for some reason, the pre adolescent or the pre pubescent children are affected and they turn into ravenous, almost zombie like characters. It has, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name, Rain Wilson from oh God,
The Office,
The Office. He's
and
in
also
there.
Star Trek Discovery, right?
Yeah, I mean, he had that. It's got a pretty cool cast, and it just reminds me of it's just so over the top. I mean, the blood, the gore is just over the top. And they just have to it kind of ended where it possibly could be a sequel, but it's been well over 10 years, so I don't almost 10 years. No, over about 11 years now. And this is a fun movie. I mean, this is a movie I would, because the blood and gore is so over the top that even people that are squeamish are gonna laugh at it because it's just you can't help but laugh. I mean,
Ridiculous.
yeah, and just and that's what the little kid calls what's going on with the other kids. Oh, they got the cooties. So it's like forever now you're going to think of the cooties as turning your kids into flesh-eating creatures, and they actually it kind of changes the appearance on their face too. I mean, it's not quite zombie like, but um uh and it's pretty kind of brutal. Rain has one that he's like swinging around the kid, and I mean, if they really wanted to, I'm probably sure that in an uncut version or something like that, probably have him swinging around, tossing the kid, and having the kid fly. But um, I think this is one of the most fun movies. I mean, because I honestly horror comedies in the from 2000 onward I just don't hit it. There's more misses than hits with me, and I was so surprised at how much this hit with me, and I was like, "going, this is a great fun movie." I mean, I recommend it to a lot of people, and I said, if you just like those crazy cult classic, B movies, basically monster movies. I mean, you can't go wrong with this one. And let me show you the cast. Okay, uh, Allison Phil. I'm not sure if you know who that is. Remember in 30 Rock that the page boy that was kind of I want to say that he was a redneck, but he was all kind of dim-witted a little bit. He's in that, and it's just uh, Jorge Garcia, the big guy from Lost. He's in it. And he stays in his truck almost the whole entire time. He ain't getting out. He sees all the carnage going on, and he's talking about some medication that says, "I need to get my medication." He says, and then he looks one scene there, which is hilarious. He looks over to his passenger side, and there was a freaking giraffe. I don't know if the guy was hallucinating or what, but it just threw me back to Cheech and Chong movies. Just like the guy would be like so stoned or so much on drugs and looks over and starts hallucinating. And it was a giraffe. I I had to hold I watched this late last night again. So I had to hold my mouth so I didn't want to laugh at 2 o'clock in the morning. But that's a fun movie. If you want something fun to watch and you take it for a test drive, it's on YouTube, commercial free. And that's my third choice.
Fourth, actually. Um,
I used to have a game called Cooties. You had to put the legs on the.
oh, I love that.
yeah.
That was when I was a little kid. That was my
When I was,
favorite game.
when I was a little kid too, we used to play it. With the,
It's kind of a dumb game because it was all about what number you rolled on the die, but you know.
yeah, it was just. I think it was just chance. There wasn't really any strategy to it.
Now, this movie, I think both of you, I think if you ever get a chance to watch it, I think you just get a
That was interesting.
good belly laugh, all the way through.
Okay, so that brings us around to my final one. It's again another one from 2025. Four Nights in Fear Forest. Now, I've mentioned before, I've talked about Polonia Brothers movies and how they're a certain flavor all their own, very low budget. This is one of the probably more accessible movies where people could, latch on a little better because it's a little less bare bones than some of the others. The premise is there are a number of people who have been in trouble, and they're like on a work release program to go over to this old haunted attraction that hasn't been used for years because people died there, called Fear Forest. And Fear Forest, the big thing in Fear Forest was these animatronics. There were 4 of them. There was Dracula, the Mummy, the Wolfman, and the Bride of Frankenstein. And the animatronics come to life. And so it's sort of I've not seen Five Nights at Freddy's, but I think it's sort of the same premise. It's also the Banana Splits movie, if you've seen that, which I love. That Banana Splits movie, you've got the animatronics going around and killing people. So it's sort of the same.
I haven't seen that one yet, but let's.
I've seen Five Nights.
What's that?
I have seen Five Nights.
Have you?
Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter also dragged me to that one, but it was actually pretty good. It's not bad.
So yeah, this is actually I really enjoyed this movie. It has a couple points where there are things where you go, what? And it drags a little at times, but it's actually very, very entertaining. And I think it's well worth the watch. So it's Four Nights in Fear Forest. And it literally just came out like a couple weeks ago, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I am a sucker for a movie with multiple monsters like that, with both mummies.
And you know what? I mean, I think I know exactly why they went with the Bride of Frankenstein versus Frankenstein, because the typical Universal Frankenstein is still locked up in rights until
that's probably
2
true.
years from now, I think.
And the bolts. Yeah, you're probably right.
So that's my final one.
All right.
Okay. My final one. I'm finally up to my Godzilla movie, the one that came out just 2 years ago.
There goes Tokyo.
Godzilla -1. First Godzilla movie to win an Academy Award. Hard to believe if you watch those old 60s and 70s movies that this franchise not only won an Academy Award, but won an Academy Award for Best Special Effects.
Thank you.
Go Godzilla.
Thank you.
But so I think I mentioned in a previous episode that the Heisei series was the series in the 90s I think it ended in the 90s. 80s and 90s, actually. There's a couple movies from the 80s. But anyway, that was the series where they kind of said, you know what? Let's just forget about human subplots. Nobody likes the human subplots. Humans are furniture in Godzilla movies anyway. So this series did a total 180 degrees on that and said, you want to see some human subplots that are actually worth watching? These human subplots are better than the Godzilla footage, believe it or not. There's some really good acting in there. You have characters with PTSD from having seen Godzilla destroy things and kill people and stuff like that. It's really a fantastically written and acted movie, which I can't believe I'm saying about a Godzilla movie, but it's actually true. And this isn't the only one, too. It was the Shin Godzilla was also kind of like that, too. Great writing, politicized, well acted. Both of those movies are kind of in the same level as far as those aspects, which is very unusual for a Godzilla movie. But these ones have it. So if you don't know, this is and why it's Godzilla -1, it's actually a prequel to the original Godzilla movie from 1954. They go back about 8 or 9 years to the end of the Second World War. And Godzilla is actually much smaller now because he's still growing, I guess, because he's supposed to be like an adolescent or something.
Right.
So that's the timeline. If you're looking at the Godzilla timeline, where does this fit? That's where it fits. But it's really an interesting film. There was one funny scene, not only one, and the guy's looking at this big metal boat, and he says, "Is this going to be big enough for the monster?" He says, "No, that's not the boat we're taking. We're taking this little wooden boat over here." But then he explains later, no, you want something that's more maneuverable. That big thing, it's going to hit that and it's going to sink. This little thing, we can maneuver around them and get away. And it's buoyant because it's wood. So, it's like all these things. This is why we want the smaller boat. But anyway, that was about the only funny scene. But like I said, there's some outstanding acting in it. You won't believe it until you see it, but it's there. I thought it should have won Best Foreign Film, but I don't know. Maybe it was U.S. co-production or something. But they are making a sequel. It should be noted. What is it? I think Godzilla -1.5 or something like that. I don't know. It's something. Godzilla -2. Is that what they went with?
Yeah.
There was a decimal in there at one point with what they were talking about. But anyway.
Well, have you seen? I have not. But have you seen Godzilla -1 Color?
No, I have not. I have heard that it exists, though.
Yes,
I was aware that it exists.
They played it in the theaters for a little bit, but then it was like a limited engagement, and it is available, but it doesn't. I can't find it on Amazon. I think it's through Tokyo, because I think they want to have like some exclusiveness to it.
Okay, yeah, because I thought it was on some kind of DVD, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was just in theaters. I mean, I was sitting there. I dragged the family to the Godzilla movies, and I'm sitting there about halfway through it. I turned to my wife and I'm like, "Am I crazy, or is this thing actually good?" And she's like,
"Yeah,
no,
I was
this is pretty good." It's got a solid plot without holes. I mean, it's not your typical Godzilla movie. So if you want a Godzilla movie that actually has good acting and a solid plot that makes sense, this might be the one for you. Sometimes I like the opposite, but I'll see Godzilla in anything. That's Americanized anything.
Yeah, I love Godzilla. Ever since
Godzilla Nut
been a little kid.
Since the 70s, yeah, since one of the earliest. Believe it or not, it's almost embarrassing my first introduction to Godzilla. It's a little embarrassing, but it was actually the Hanna-Barbera cartoon. But shortly after that, I did the Ian Thorne books from the library, and I was so mad at the Smurfs because in my time frame, the Smurfs took over the Godzilla time slot that I still have a vendetta against the Smurfs to this day. So don't show me any Smurf stuff.
I won't.
But anyway,
I think there was something going on with those Smurfs. Anyways.
Yeah, there's only one female.
Yeah, so we'll leave it at that, folks.
Yeah, not saying anymore. You take your imagination from there.
All right. Mine has a little mix of dark and very dark humor. It's from the same year, 2014, and it's Tusk. This is a Kevin Smith movie, and he decided to do something a little more, say, not so slapstick-ish. This kind of falls under the black comedy blanket. And what it is this guy, he's a podcaster, and one of these guys that kind of make fun at videos that are online, people doing stupid stuff. And he was
Fail Army type stuff.
yeah, he was going to go up to Canada to meet this one guy that was dubbed the Kill Bill Kid. But Kill Bill Kid had an accident with one of his samurai swords and cut off his own leg. And when he got up there, they were having a funeral. I guess the Kill Bill Kid took his own life. So the guy's like going, well, now what am I going to do? I mean, I'm up here in Canada, and I don't want to come home empty-handed. But he went to a bar, and he saw on an advertisement thing, I got stories to tell. It was in the bathroom. It had like those little app, and push pins. It got story to tell. So he finds out the name of the place, and he goes to a convenience store that was the two clerks in there were Lily Rose Depp, Johnny Depp's daughter, and Harley Quinn Smith, Kevin Smith's daughter. And they were it was just funny. So the lead character is played by Justin Long. He is a dick, but his fate, he didn't deserve his fate. The person that he was going to meet, it was played by an actor named Michael Parks, and he's a little bit, I'll put it at this: the lights are on, but nobody's home type of thing. He's kind of mad scientist. He had when he was younger, he washed ashore and his only companion at what happened to be on this little rock was a walrus, but the walrus didn't. The walrus died on him. So, but he said he had a bond with the walrus, and so since then, that's what has consumed his life. Well, here's where the name of the movie comes into play. He surgically alters Justin Long into a human walrus. And it was the most horrific monster creature that I've seen in a long time. And you see it in the eyes, how what is he? He may have a human brain, but his body is a walrus. He doesn't have his voice anymore. He can't cry. He can cry, but he can't say help or anything. And you kind of feel sad for him. And it's that's where the black comedy comes into. There's some funny moments, and it's absurd things, and then it turns out that this guy's done it before, because when he went to go into the water, he notices skeletal remains of other human walruses, and it would this was another, I would say, brutal movie. It hits you. I mean, you're not expecting it, and the guy's co-host on the podcast thing is played by Haley Joel Osment, if you know who that is. I see that people. It's the thing. And he's just like he kind of reminds me of, he's kind of maybe like the Baba Booey to Howard Stern. you know. Uh, this one, yeah, this is a dark one, you know. There's some funny moments, but when it comes time, the reveal, it's like it, it hits you. And if that's the kind of movies you like, and if you like Kevin Smith's movies, I think this is one, it's he's kind of going a little further outward of what he usually does. His usually comedies are like straight comedies, Uh, but this one's a good one, and that's my final one.
Yay.
Hey, we did it.
Brings us to the end of another episode and the end of 2 years.
Yes, this is
Liz.
2 year. It's hard to believe it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now we have a homework assignment for people down in the comment section. Tell us your 5. I mean, favorite. We're going to put that in quotes. Favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, or and it doesn't necessarily have to be like the best ones you've ever seen, because you can just mix, because
We should go for something like notable or something going forward.
yeah. But we are going to do a part 2.
Yeah.
All right. And as we were talking, I already wrote down my 5. I already got them.
I haven't always done my favorites anyway. I just do like movies that I really wanted to talk about this month, to be honest.
Yeah.
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 And so I think that's why I think that the favorite word is a little,
Yeah.
deceptive,
Yeah.
inaccurate.
Yeah. Not
So
totally.
we really need to come up with something else to replace it. But
Yeah, we'll do that. I mean, if anybody has suggestions for that too, as well,
right in the comments.
That'd be good.
we'll check them out. But all right, well, 2 years, guys. Here's for more.
Years.
2.
Ook. Yep.
Well, thanks again, guys. I appreciate that. I always have a lot of fun. I mean, talking with you guys about movies, and my main goal with all this is just for us to talk about movies and put it up on YouTube and see what, if people watch it and comment and everything. And I appreciate people that do watch. I mean, I got a regular viewer out there, and she likes everything that we've done so far, and she's actually looking forward to our Halloween show.
Oh, we're gonna get crazy with that one this year.
Yeah, we need to go. I think we need to step that up a couple notches.
Yeah.
It went a few darker stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, guys. I appreciate it. And I'll talk to you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching this episode. And stay tuned for the next one.